how does this sound? Is it balanced? You don't want the guitar louder than the fiddle. That causes problems sometimes. How is it pretty well balanced? And I tell you, sound, man, we're getting kind of a feedback from these monitors. They're kind of an echo, aren't we? A little bit. They can maybe cut it down a little bit or something, or whatever. I don't know, whatever. We played in places. There was an echo and a roar and everything. That was a reel. Now, reels, and of course, the next one we're going to play is a hornpipe. Now, these were much slower many, many years ago, we're told. And then when we brought these tunes over, the settlers came over here, and of course, they had picked up the English contra dances or country dances that the aristocrats danced. And of course, by the time the common people got them, they changed them. By the time they got over here, we started calling them square dances. So we've changed the time of these tunes to fit within the context of square dancing. So even though at one time they were different tempo, now reels and hornpipes are pretty much at the same speed, and we call them hoedowns. That's what most hoedowns are. We'll play you one now that was a hornpipe, and probably is still probably as close to a hornpipe time as anything was. It's called Billy in the Low Ground.
Probably dates from the 1700s and maybe earlier, and it's from Scotland. It's called The Flowers of Edinburgh. It's a pretty tune and got some minor notes in it, and we like to play it.
to play those. Of course, we're hanging around in the 16th and 17th centuries right now. And the way they have no real way of knowing the ages of these tunes. They know that a lot of these tunes came from even older tunes. Usually, if it's mentioned in some literature or the first time they have it in a printed form, we're going to play a couple of jigs now. Now, these 6/8 time jigs, nobody in our part of the country dances those anymore. But all fiddlers will play a jig. And if he only knows 20 tunes, he'll play one of them will be a jig. These are just standard pieces of old-time fiddling, their repertoire. First one we're going to play is called Over the Water to Charlie. Now, this is a reference. These titles get interesting, too. This is a reference to Bonnie Prince Charles, who, of course, was kicked out of the British Isles and he went over to France. And his followers would, their toast, when they would, the ones that were still in the British Isles, would say, Over the Water to Charlie, so a toast there. And then we're going to play another one that all of you will recognize called Irish Lorchel Run. Now, both of these were first printed about 1792, so we know they're older than that. Next tune, we're coming up more towards the 19th century now a little bit. There was a tune in the 1700s that was very popular in Scotland, and it fell from favor there, and by about the time it was falling out of favor in Scotland, it became popular in Europe, especially with the Germans. So the Germans took it and they gave it the name Scottish, which in German is Schottisch. Then the Schottish came back to the British Isles and came over to this country, and for some reason retained that name. Now, there used to be a lot of people Schottish in the Ozarks, and rarely now between sets of the square dance, if we play at one, somebody will perform a Schottish. Now, I think over in western Oklahoma and western Kansas, they still may do some Schottish. But this one we're going to play is called Doc Jessup's Schottish. Now, here's again on these names. There's so many of these tunes and so many names. And this, Crane, Missouri is over, in the Branson area, over around the lakes area. And there was a doctor there named Doc Jessup, and he was a fiddler, and he played this, so they call it Doc Jessup's Schottish. So go tell what the name is. anybody here? Well, I can't see anything. We've got bright lights here, but I just wonder how many people have ever shottished here. Maybe at the next, I see some hands up out there. It's a pretty dance. It's really a shame we've lost some of these dances. Because the schottish is really, for you young ones, it was a 1, 2, 3 hop, and they usually were side by side. And of course, when you got into it, we saw some from western Kansas one time. My goodness, they go around in circles, and then they do a slow schottish, and right in with it a fast schottish, and then back. So much for that here. Let's see. Cotillion. I'll let you talk about the cotillion.
This is another type of dance that was danced in a long row of people, women on one side, men on the other. And you've done something like, some of you have done something like that in your physical education classes, I'm pretty sure. But the couple at the end did something like link their elbows in a circle, or right and left hand, or Alaman left, or some of the calls of the dance. Went on right on down the line, and then after everybody had done it once, all of them did it together. But this is really a bagpipe tune, and on the last of it, I'll see if I can make it sound a little bit like a bagpipe. But this is called the cotillion in A and D.
Pretty well wrapped up the 1700s or the 18th century, so we'll move up into the first of the 19th. Now, of course, after the Revolution and after the country began moving west and a lot more immigrants started coming into the country, why you had a change in some of the music. And you had a music come along that developed into the minstrel shows, a little more jazzy type music. We're going to play a couple here. And the first one you'll all recognize. It's called Buffalo Gals, and it was first published in 1839. And if we were all back in 1839, it played just like it's going to be played right now, and you'll all recognize it. And you have to remember on these tunes, people like me and most of these fiddlers read no music at all. And these tunes have come down for centuries. We've sat down and played with Irish musicians that have been visiting from Ireland, and I can second them just along like the Flowers of Edinburgh. I can second them right along, and yet here nobody reads music, and here's 200 years probably between the time his people brought it over and everything. So it becomes amazing sometimes. The second one we'll throw in is one I thought was about the same age, called Golden Slippers. You've all heard it too, but it really wasn't done until the 1890s, but it's the same type of tune. It's a minstrel type tune. It's Buffalo Bill. Well, then, just before the Civil War, there was a dance that had developed in Europe, Austria and Germany and around in there, and it had just gotten into the South, into the aristocratic South, a little more dignified dance and everything, called the waltz. And then the Civil War came along, and then right after the war, it really took off when people began moving around again and everything. And of course, waltz is now is a part of everybody's repertoire. But we're going to play a waltz that's a pretty old Irish waltz called Seamus O'Brien. And we thought how pretty an Irish waltz this is. And we were at Wolf Trap, and there were Irish musicians. I mean, not from Philadelphia and Boston, but from Ireland. So we thought, my gosh, we'll play Seamus O'Brien to show them how good we are at this. So we played it, and they said, what's that? And we said, why, it's Seamus O'Brien. They'd never heard of it. In fact, they had us play it again so they could take the tape home. They taped it. Well, I found out later it was written in 1867 by a guy named William Shakespeare Hayes, who wrote prolifically, but this is one of the few that ever became popular. And it's still played a lot in this part of the country and, well, all over the United States, really. But it's undoubtedly, he took an Irish waltz, so it is really a pretty waltz. everything began changing in this country then. And then the immigration really was coming in. Everything was moving west. And you had instead of the minstrels, you had the forerunner of vaudeville and ragtime and Tin Pan Alley and everything. It's what we call music hall music. A little jumpier music and everything. And, of course, you had more population centers, more opportunities to have music halls and everything. We're going to play an example of that music, which is still carried on probably actually it ran into Tin Pan Alley and then developed a lot of its music. This was going to be called Dixie Blossoms. Now, the interesting thing about Dixie Blossoms, it was written by a man named Percy Winrick. Now, Percy Winrick was from Joplin, Missouri. In fact, he's buried over there. And Percy Winrick also wrote Put On Your Old Gray Bonnet, When You Wore a Tulip on Moonlight Bay. So this is one of his tunes that they were playing. Kind of not really being explicit on, I don't know when some things start. Things overlap, so they may be kind of running something in ahead of us, something, I don't know. But we're going to get into another music that also around the turn of the century took off, is Texas and Oklahoma. See, it's an interesting area right in here. Now, you'll notice any of you that play music over in here or on west of here and on southwest will notice I don't do any bar chord. I'm typical Ozarks. I'm what Mother Maybelle Carter called a crowfoot guitar player. Through fingers is what most of the chords, simple chords I make are. And that goes with our square dance music, though. That fits our type of playing over here. And you'll notice arch playing is different, too. Of course, you get a mixture here because you've got Arkansas and the Ozarks right here, and then you've got the people from over in there that are influenced by this Texas swing music and everything. So when you come to any music around in this part, this Lapland right in here, you really hear some interesting music. It's a mixture sometimes. So we play what's really would be Ozark style, I guess. And but anyway, the music that I play now called Rag, which a lot of people lived, he many 30 years, but it was about 19. Don't listen to what I say. Don't pay attention to what I say. I thought something was wrong there. That we were using that as the rag. I got my chronology all messed up there. That was a rag. All right, back up. Forget I said anything about Texas. I got Bob Wills on my mind, too. That was another music that evolved into this 10-pound alley and everything. And what I meant to say was that Bob Wills made it a Texas-style tune later on. But that is a rag. And there's lots of rags. There's, in fact, Scott Joplin, this is that type of music, you know. Now, let's see. Another tune that we never had the polka in this part of the country. And I don't think the Oklahoma Ozarks had it either. And I know we didn't have it in our part of the country. Now, fiddlers now will play some polkas, but they've come in recently, in the recent past here. And what we'll play, though, is something that had that tempo, but it was called a quick step, which was a turn-of-the-century type dance here. This is called a Weidman's quick step. That came about then after this turn of the century and everything is what's called blues. Now, the blues in this type of music has, as far as I know, has nothing to do with black blues. This is a different type. I always call it honky-tonk music. And I guess they kind of dressed it up and called it blues. This is the type of music that I always think of a beer joint along the highway with a couple of people dancing like they're pumping oil, you know, that type of dancing. But you'll see the tempo I mean here. down, we get into the 5 foot 2 eyes of blue arrow, and these are all tunes that are part of the repertoire of most, well, practically all what we call traditional fiddlers. Instead of just being hornpipes only, that's what we want to tell you about tonight, is all the different types of music. If we all played hornpipes, we'd be bored in about an hour's time, if that long. But this is what makes this music fun, is there's such a variety to it. And each fiddler plays differently. In other words, it's never the aim of any fiddler to play exactly like another fiddler, because if you do, in our part of the country, I've heard old fiddlers say, you're putting yourself down. This is purely an individual thing, just like the way the people lived in these hills. They were all individuals, and they took great pride in their individualism. So each man has his own lick, as they say. He plays his own lick on the fiddle. We're going to get up into this 5 foot 2 eyes blue. We're going to play a couple of tunes here that are indicative of this. And the first one is one from back in the 20s, I imagine, called Me Too, and then we'll put another one on the end of it that's right a little bit before that, but it has kind of the same flavor to it, called Darktown Strutter's Ball. Really, that Darktown Strutter is a little older, but we like to play the two together, so we'll tell you they're close to the same. Now, our last one of this half of the program here, where we've kind of run things here, is going to be the Texas style. I should have been quiet about a while ago. We play Texas style, Ozarks style, so any Texas fiddlers in here are going to raise their eyebrows when we play this. But this is a Texas style tune, and it really, it's not Western swing, really. It's a little different than that, in that I don't know what kind of dance you do to it, but this is a good tune, a good foot tapper called Sally Johnson. first half here. I think we're going to have an intermission, and then when we come back, well, we'll play whatever you all want us to play it, and if we don't know it, we'll play what we want to play anyway. And we'll just go on with this, and I hope you've enjoyed it so far, and we'll get back after intermission here.
We have two long video records. We'll put them out here if you want to look at them and talk about them, whatever. Come up with, feel free to do that.
Yeah, we looked all over for you today. We looked all over for you today. Yeah, well, first of all, one person said, no, you died years ago. We said, no. No, this guy had, he said, oh, he died 20 years ago. We'll talk in a minute here, yeah. Yeah, Griffith. Yeah. Griffith, okay, all right.
Louie.
We were looking for your scores, what we were doing. Yeah?
That's fast almost.
Now, did your brother play too? Did your brother used to be a brother-in-law or?
Well, I did have a brother-in-law, Harvey, but they took up Harvey McCann.
He used to play, didn't he? I guess not.
Oh, no, it's been about Phil Terrell.
Okay. Okay, but you always get to each other. That's leading to that damn. Yeah. Well,
Where's your family? I want to see it.
well, I don't have it.
I told him if he had it, I'd steal it. Well, I just told him.
He still got it. He still got it.
You ain't
We
that.
saw,
You ain't that good all the time.
Yeah. Who's the stage manager? You know, could he turn these stage lights down a little bit so we can see? We'd like to be able to see it, see what you might want to hear, and also if you start looking hostile, we'll know when to get out the back door. So if he could fade those down a little bit, he may be able to, or turn those up. I guess 6 of one, half dozen the other. We'll go with the second half here. We'll just kind of play what anybody wants, if we know it, and if not, we'll play you a bunch of things. We'll play some tunes we know you haven't heard. And tell you, to start off, we had a request. That chauffeur we had today.
Oh, yeah.
We had the nicest boy that's been a chauffeur to us today. I don't know if he's going to bill us later or not, but he wanted us to play a waltz for his loving wife. And so he knows who he is. He said no names, didn't he? So we'll go ahead. What do you want to play? What do we play?
I think your little string.
Which one? Not sharp?
That's
Flat?
sharp.
Sharp? We try to stay professional, you know. What do you want to play? What waltz? Let's play Down Home Waltz. Right. That's a pretty waltz.
This is Down Home Waltz.
Anybody have they want to hear? Okay. Let's see. We're going to say we play that as our last tune. We finish up with that. That's the last one we play.
That all right?
We'll finish with it. We'll finish with it. See, don't get us up. We got a strict thing we go on here, you know. But anything else?
What?
What? Over the way. Well, now let's put the fast one in, and we'll all go to sleep if we play too many waltzes in the session. We'll get to over the ways in just a minute here. What? Redwing. Here, I'll tell you a quick story about Redwing.
All right.
A couple of months ago, I got a call from a girl in college there at Springfield, and she said, "Mr. McCann, I hear you're an expert on old tunes." And I said, "Well, no, but I said maybe I can help you." She was doing some paper on turn of the century tunes or something like that. And I said, I expected an old ballad. She said, well, these tunes, she said, the titles are old and obscure. She said, I don't know if you'll know either one of them. She said, I can't find anything on them. I said, well, try me. She said, well, this first one has the craziest title. She said, I know you'll know it. It's called Don't Fence Me In. And the reason I tell that, Redwing was her other one. I said, you haven't done your research. You know, I hoped, because my gosh, that was in the 40s, I think, or something. But anyway, we'll play Redwing here. We'll go ahead and we'll play Over the Waves here. Now, if ever there was a waltz that has to be the most played waltz in Western civilization, I mean even the Strauss waltzes don't even come into the category of Over the Waves. I don't think we've ever found a fiddler from any country that didn't play Over the Waves. And the story behind it's kind of interesting. During the Louisiana Exposition in 1903 or whenever it was, they brought a Mexican band up from Monterrey, Mexico, and there was a school teacher in that band. And about 1896 or 97, he had written this waltz. And when they played at in New Orleans, they were so popular that after the exposition ended, they kept those guys on for about another 6 weeks. And that tune picked up then and spread all over this country. And it's also Sobre las Olas. It's the national waltz of Mexico. But this is Over the Waves, and you won't find any fiddler that doesn't know this one. They don't really, well, I'll tell you, he took one called the Battle of New Orleans, which is really the 8th of January. We'll just play that. Words to it. And let's see, anything else? Old Joe Clark? Yeah, look at that.
Something that y'all ought to know, anyway you recognize it, it's from this country.
One you probably haven't heard. We'll throw in some that are probably going to be new to you. So this may all be new to some of you, I don't know, but some of you are around this music a lot and hear a lot of tunes. This is a tune called Sail Away Ladies. Now, Uncle Dave Macon had a tune he used to sing on the Grand Ole Opry, and I think he had it on a record called Sail Away Ladies, and this is a variation of that. There's thousands of these tunes, literally, and thousands of titles, and what they are is they're variations and variations and variations, but this is kind of a pretty arrangement of this one. else? Anybody got anything else here? Tennessee Waltz, all right. We play the Tennessee Waltz better than we play the Maiden's Prayer. That's why. I was glad he jumped in here with that. See, you putting us in the spot now. You start yelling these Texas tunes at us, and here we're from over those mountains, and I don't bark, or you don't see Gordon getting very far from down home here. The paint's all rubbed off my guitar right here, because I don't get way down here. These Texas fiddler seconds really bang around on this thing. Here's one of those ragtime, 5'2" Eyes Blue tunes. Happy Days and Lonely Nights. we can't go away from here without playing Missouri Waltz. I have to tell you, when we played around the country, you can look at an audience and see. One time we were somewhere in the East or something, we started playing Missouri Waltz, and I noticed a man in the second row. His eyes watered up, and all of a sudden I saw tears coming down his cheeks, and by the time we finished, the man's head was literally in his hands, just shaking his head, sobbing, no. So after the thing was over, I saw him out in the lobby, and I said, sir, pardon me, I said, I noticed you became very emotionally involved with Missouri Waltz. I said, are you a Missourian? He said, no, I'm a musician. Maybe we'll do a little better, though, this time.
Got another request?
I thought we were going to play Missouri Waltz.
Oh, all right.
I had to tell a joke, you know.
Yeah, but the joke's sour to the tin.
You want to put something in between?
Wait a minute. There we go.
Somebody else have anything they want to? You know, now why did you see? There's another thing we get in trouble for. We really don't play it. And I always tell people we've got a card in our pocket here from our doctors that will not let us play it because it's too physically draining and everything. But the truth is, if we played it, we would have to shoot out that back door because that's about all I know of it. So, okay, Faded Love.
Well, I'll stab at it.
Yeah. Wait a minute, where's that back door? What's that in? D? D? Strasser's have taken this tune over, but surprises a lot of people. This is an old Scottish tune, old bagpipe tune. It's called Blackberry Blossom. Before we quit here, we're going to, Waltz You Saved for me will be next year. How many Suzuki students are here tonight? Look at them, see, a bunch of them. I'll tell you something that's happened with this. We've really been concerned, all of us have, all over the country, about this completely dying out, this old-time fiddling or the Western swing or Texas style or whatever you want to call all the different styles, because there's been no young ones coming up. Well, one thing, you'd gotten away from it. Of course, square dancing died away too when round dancing came in, and that was the main purpose for most fiddlers in the community, was to play they were the entertainers for the community, but there was nothing else, you know. And so students went to more formal music, and I'm not saying that this is fine. You have to, when you have an 80-piece orchestra, they better know how to read music, but that's all they did was learn to read music. And then this Suzuki method came along, and the interesting thing about it is that it's an eclectic method. In other words, they teach them to play by ear, and then they teach them to read the music. So they got the best of both worlds. Well, what happened was when this happened, a lot of youngsters have been picking up this old-time fiddling. Some have been going into the contest type of fiddling, which can be good or can be bad. But we've got a lot of young fiddlers coming on. You've got a bunch of them around in here that are playing over in our part of the country. You really do. And so it may help. I don't know how long it'll last. And, of course, these are all, the majority of them are under teenage, aren't they? So the teenage seems to be a critical year for this music when they get to some of what they call music there. But anyway, it's encouraging to us. I shouldn't say those things. Anyway.
We usually play this because this Waltz You Saved for me, because it was a waltz of the late 30s and early 40s. And all of you have gray hair, like a lot of us here, or some hair.
Yeah.
Like to hear it, and it is pretty waltz. But we'll play that, and that's our last tune. And we do thank you very much. You have got a grand audience, and we appreciate it. Here's the
Now wait, hold on, before we forget it. See, the chauffeur that ran us around was an optometrist, and he gives me a note without my glasses on to read. I think there's some kind of message to that. A reception will be held after the performance next door in the lobby of the Fine Arts Annex. As you leave, turn right and go right to the building next door. So there, I've done my duty. Okay. the reception.
What's described of Bob Will's tombstone?
No, what?
In his heart lies melody.
Yeah. Rose is saying, Art is really more up on the music than I am. He really is. Knows more of the.
Do y'all know how to play Missy Goose Walk against the...
Yeah, but we don't do all the little birds with it, Tell you why you get away from those is they're outlawed in contests. Oh, they are. Orange Blossom Special and Listen to the Mockingbird and tunes like that, they're not allowed because they're considered trick tunes. I told you we're too old to get involved with tricks. Yeah, just so many.